We're at that time of year when strategy is top of mind. This year is almost finished and already you've got your eye on the next one. You're thinking about strategy and goal setting and everything that goes along with it. And whilst you're cautiously optimistic, there's that small voice in the back of your head that's saying next year will likely be more of the same. So we'll set some lofty goals and probably fall short of most of them. Now, it's a well-proven fact that most of us tend to overestimate what can be achieved in the short term, but then underestimate what can be achieved over a longer period. And nowhere is this more true than execution of strategy. So let's see if this sounds familiar to you. So you have a strategy workshop at the start of the year, set some 3-year goals and paint a picture of the year ahead. You kick off the year in style, very optimistic about what you can achieve in the first quarter. But then the strategic projects start to stall and stagnate, and at the end of the quarter, you're left with a bunch of incomplete projects that you have to either put in the bin or roll over to the next quarter. So all of a sudden, the 12-month goals appear a little more difficult, and you're doubting whether they can be achieved. By the time you get to the end of the year, your new 3-year goals are strikingly similar to what they were 12 months ago because you haven't made the progress that you intended to in year 1. Now, I call this strategy slippage. So your strategy is sound, but it keeps slipping back because your execution falls short. The goalposts keep shifting further and further back simply because strategic milestones are not being met. So what's the answer? How do we fix it? You don't need a change in strategy, you just need a change in your execution model. And here are my 5 steps to avoid strategy slippage in the coming year. So let's start with the 3-year goalpost, the finish line, if you like. Do you have a really clear picture of what it looks like? What do the numbers say? What does your team look like? Products, customer base, and so on. This is your defined line in the sand 3 years from now. If you don't have a very clear picture of this, you can't be sure that you've got the right strategy to follow. Now map out your annual milestones and results. So if we're going to be here in 3 years, where do we need to be in 2 years and then in 1 year? Once again, look at it from all the angles, the numbers, the people, customers, markets, product, etc. What are the overriding annual objectives for each year? Then fill it in. What are your quarterly milestones in between? This is usually the missing link. So spend some time getting this right. And the most important aspect to bear in mind here is momentum. If you're going to achieve something significant in 3 years' time, you'll need to gather enough momentum to hit the finish line strong. So don't make the mistake of overloading the first 6 months of your 3-year plan, and don't leave yourself with too much to do in the last year either. So each quarter should build on the last. Then outline the steps that you need to take to remove the expected roadblocks or constraints. Because momentum will either be your friend or your enemy when you're executing your plan. So focus on what will be required each quarter to keep building your momentum. What do you expect to be the proverbial foot on the pipe at each stage of your plan? What will be the one major constraint you need to break free of? It could be people or cash or systems, equipment, premises, any one of a multitude of things. But your challenge is to think of it ahead of time, a lot ahead of time. So although you're working operationally on what's important right now, strategically you're working on what will be important further into the future. And then finally, break it down into your big strategic rocks, each of them focused on removing the core challenge, the roadblock or constraint for that quarter. And if you get these 5 steps right, then you can execute with confidence because you know that what you're doing now ties directly into your 3-year plan. So you're not executing strategy in a vacuum with projects and priorities that are disconnected and out of order. You're working directly every quarter, every week, every day on removing the constraints to your momentum, the momentum that you will need in order to achieve your 3-year goals.